Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
In the many battles last night, they had killed a large number of enemy soldiers, the Scarlet God Spirit and the Scarlet True God tier. Therefore, there were many new God Spirits under him. A total of 23,725 legendary tier advanced grade soldiers had advanced to low-tier deity level elementary grade God Spirits. In addition, 55 high-tier deity level advanced grade God Spirits had advanced to true God tier elementary grade God Spirits. Zhou Zhou was very satisfied after reading it. This battle had given his soldiers and God Spirits a great time. There were actually so many soldiers and God Spirits who had advanced to God Spirits and True God tiers. He carefully looked at the list of true gods who had advanced to the True God tier. Then, he seemed to have discovered something and frowned slightly. This was because he discovered that Nazario was also in the team that had advanced to True God tier. Nazario was now a True God tier elementary grade. As a legendary dragon, the Abyssal Holy Dragon, it would probably be able to protect itself even if it could not fight head-on against the attacks of a Master God tier God Spirit. However, he still remembered that Nazario's inheritance of the Abyss Divine Dragon God Spirit had a deep relationship with that Abyss will. It was naturally a good thing for him that Nazario had advanced to become a true God tier elementary grade God Spirit. It would also give the Abyss will a chance to control Nazario. When Nazario received the inheritance of the Abyssal Holy Dragon, he had told him that he could suppress his strength and not make a breakthrough. Why did he suddenly make a breakthrough now? He thought about it and decided to contact Nazario first. Soon, Nazario's response appeared in Zhou Zhou's mind. Master, I had a premonition that the danger of my inheritance will not appear at the true God tier level. Instead, it will appear when I advance to the Master God tier. It's precisely because of this premonition that I advanced to the true God tier realm without permission. I was so happy that I forgot to tell Master about it. Nazario replied with some shame. Zhou Zhou frowned. As a legendary dragon, even if Nazario's intuition was not as good as the Chaos humans, it was still much stronger than most races in the myriad worlds. There shouldn't be any problem since it had this intuition. Moreover, it made sense thinking about it. The Abyss will was in existence at the level of will. Moreover, it was also at the top among the many will-level existences. Even Supreme God Realm experts had to lower their heads in front of such a will. While Nazario might be an Abyssal Holy Dragon that had just attained True God tier, it would not be of much help to the Abyss will. It was normal not to be noticed by the Abyss will. It could only be of some use to the Abyss will when it reached the Master God tier level. Zhou Zhou, who was relieved, chatted with Nazario for a while more before cutting off the connection. At this moment, Zheng Yuanqi was walking towards him excitedly. Your Majesty, I have happy news to report. Just now, there are more than 500 trillion subjects, nearly 800,000 other epic tier heroes, nearly 400,000 legendary tier heroes, more than 100,000 lesser deities, more than 60,000 mid-tier deity-level deities, and more than 30,000 high-tier deity-level deities gathered in our empire's border cities. They hope to join our empire and become our empire's subjects and worshipped God spirits. Also, Your Excellency Zero also discovered the auras of 62 true God tiers among these living beings who want to join our empire. They also want to join our empire and become the true God tiers of our empire. Zhou Zhou was stunned for a moment before he immediately reacted. This was because his supreme conquest effect had been triggered. He had consecutively conquered the Blood Moon clan, the Een Ghost clan, and the Heaven Hidden clan yesterday. These three clans combined had 30 Empire tier Lord factions. After that, Bai Yun led her army and eliminated 7 high-level Empire tier Lord factions. He had also obtained 13 mythical reputation rating talents through the 2 Lord announcements yesterday. It was precisely because of the addition of these talents and the influence of his common people's regal title that so many subjects, God spirits, and even true God tier had joined his Blazing Sun Empire. Double blessings. Zhou Zhou was delighted. Set him up with all our might. Report again to this emperor after the results are tabulated. Zhou Zhou was overjoyed and immediately told Zheng Yuanqi. Yes, Your Majesty. Zheng Yuanqi said respectfully before heading back to work. Then, Zhou Zhou continued to read the promotion list. To his surprise, he discovered that the Yellow Emperor and the Buddha Lord had also advanced to the True God Tier Advanced Grade. Patriarch Liu and Bai he had also advanced to the True God Tier Intermediate Grade. Zhou Zhou nodded in his heart. These 4 old human leaders had finally advanced. Then, he handed the other matters to Zhou managed to handle. He flew to the sky above the capital and looked down at it. He silently chanted to upgrade his territory. The next second, accompanied by 40,000 trillion units of basic materials, 10,000 low-tier deity-level advanced grade divine crystals, 100 billion origin crystals, 200 million units of space-time elemental gems, and 20 low-tier deity-level elementary grade territory tokens, 10 low-tier deity-level intermediate grade territory tokens, and 3 low-tier deity-level advanced grade territory tokens, they disappeared. Congratulations, your low-tier deity-level intermediate grade shrine, Lord's Law, has been upgraded to low-tier deity-level advanced grade shrine, Lord's Law. Your territory has been upgraded to low-tier deity-level advanced grade. Your low-tier deity-level intermediate grade divine origin augmentation formation has been upgraded to low-tier deity-level advanced grade divine origin augmentation formation. Territory stone steel durability increased to 2 trillion/2 trillion. Your territory has expanded to 300 million kmx, 300 million kmx, 500,000 m. All fog monsters within the territory of the new territory have been expelled. Scarlet fog will not appear in any of your territories. You have received an upgrade reward. Mythical tier building blueprint treasure chest, low tier deity level advanced grade. Lord Talent notification. Your Scarlet Broodmother can be upgraded. Lord Talent hint. Your mysterious caravan faction has increased. Lord Talent notification. The strength of the clergy of your life arc has increased. Zhou Zhou looked at the upgrade notification and nodded in satisfaction. After the Scarlet Broodmother was upgraded, the Scarlet Broodmother should be able to produce more than 20 trillion recruitment books and job change certificates tomorrow. Then, he looked at the material requirements for the territory to be upgraded to a low-level mid-tier deity level. Construction upgrade. 200,000 trillion units of wood, 200,000 trillion units of fine sand, 200,000 trillion units of metal, 200,000 trillion units of stone, 10,000 mid-tier deity-level divine crystals, 500 billion origin crystals, 500 million units of time elemental gems, 500 million units of space elemental gems, 10 lower mid-tier deity-level regional territories, 10 lower mid-tier deity-level god spirits, 10,000 racial heroes, 10 lower mid-tier deity-level elemental grade territory tokens. After Zhou Zhou finished reading, he had fulfilled all the other conditions. He was just short of the time elemental gemstone and the spatial elemental gemstone. He looked at his king's treasure box. In his king's treasure box, there were still more than 283 million units of time elemental gems and more than 347 million units of spatial elemental gems. Nothing much, but I should be able to satisfy them all by today, and then I will be able to upgrade the territory again tomorrow. Zhou Zhou thought. Zhou Zhou flew back to the shrine, opened his personal terminal, and held a video conference with Mu Gu, Zheng Fugue, and Carol Moeli. The territory has just been upgraded. You guys have already felt your improvement, right? Tell me about it. Zhou Zhou smiled faintly. Mu Gu was the first to say respectfully, Your Majesty, the Scarlet Broodmother that I'm currently in has been upgraded from low-tier deity level intermediate grade to low-tier deity level advanced grade. The number of Mist Mothers evolved from the low-tier deity level advanced grade Scarlet Broodmother has increased from 50,000 to 70,000. Every Mist Mother's Mist Mother world can now nurture 100 million fog monsters. 70,000 Mist Mothers can nurture a total of 7 trillion fog monsters. In addition, the quality and efficiency of cultivating high-quality Scarlet Heirs has also increased. Currently, I can at most nurture a Scarlet God Spirit below the high-tier deity level. This process will take about 3 days. If I want to nurture a Scarlet Descendant of a mid-tier deity level advanced grade, it will only take about a day. Zhou Zhou nodded in satisfaction. This improvement was not bad. Among your 70,000 mist mothers, you left 10,000 to specially nurture the iron-eating bear and the withered tree. As for the other 60,000 mist mothers, 30,000 will be used to nurture the violent storm demon spirit, and the other 30,000 will be used to nurture the yellow talisman Dao soldier. A total of 60,000 mist mothers could nurture a total of 6 trillion ranch monsters. With the help of the King of Loots, he could obtain 9 trillion yellow talisman Dao soldier recruitment books, 9 trillion yellow talisman Dao soldier class change certificates, 9 trillion violent storm spirit recruitment books, and 9 trillion violent storm spirit class change certificates tomorrow. If he converted all these recruitment books into new recruits, he would have a total of 36 trillion soldiers, which was 36 trillion soldiers. He only had 38 trillion troops under him. He would be transformed by the Scarlet Brood Mother the next day. I've only improved by a small level, but I've obtained such a huge improvement. Looks like one day, I'll be able to transform into 100 trillion soldiers. Zhou Zhou could not help but think. Then, a smile appeared on his face. Yes, Your Majesty, Mugu said respectfully. Then, in the video, Zheng Fugue said with a smile. Your Majesty, now, the number of mysterious merchant has increased from 200 million to 300 million after our territory was promoted to low-tier deity level advanced grade. The number of carriages transporting goods has also increased to 300 million. All of us mysterious merchants' strength has also increased to low-tier deity level advanced grade. Our treasure hunting ability has increased again. In the future, when we go out to do business, we should be able to bring back at least 100 treasures each time. Moreover, the quality of each treasure is comparable to a god-tier treasure. Zhou Zhou clicked his tongue in wonder. 300 million low-tier deity level advance grade god spirits. Even if it was a living god spirit, such a large group of god spirits together was still an extremely shocking battle power. Unfortunately, as mysterious merchant, they not only represented Zhou Zhou, but also represented the mysterious merchant chamber of commerce, an extremely huge and mysterious organization in the myriad worlds. In the face of war, they could only be neutral and could not fight for themselves. Otherwise, his power could totally increase by several times with the help of the mysterious merchant. After Zheng Fugue finished speaking, Carol Moeli continued. Your Majesty, after the territory was upgraded to the low-tier deity level intermediate grade, our life arc already has 500 billion clergymen, 500 billion priests, 500 billion nuns, and 5,000 billion life holy knights. These clergymen are enough to complete the war-healing missions and resurrection missions of quadrillions of troops. Also, currently, there are 10,000 high-level divine duty members of the Life Arc's God Spirit level. Every one of them has mastered the resurrection spells, and they can resurrect the deities of our country alone. As for my strength, I'm still at the true God tier intermediate grade. It can revive any God spirits below the Master God tier level. Zhou Zhou nodded slightly. Then, he chatted with the three of them for a while before ending the video call. He sat quietly on the throne for a while before suddenly asking, Zero, are there any movements from the Lords of the Supreme Alliance and the myriad races? As a consciousness incarnation of the Master God tier, Zero's intelligence exceeded that of any Machina race in the myriad worlds. Zhou Zhou naturally wouldn't let this top-notch intelligent life form off. Therefore, after he arrived at the Blazing Sun Empire, Zhou Zhou handed over all the intelligence systems of the Blazing Sun Empire to Zero to manage. Zhou Zhou had also handed over all the work that Wenyu had done in the past to Zero. As a mechanical elven, Wenyu should focus on combat. This would not waste the other party's talent. Reporting to Your Majesty. Currently, most of the races and factions in the Supreme Alliance led by the original Spirit race are not taking the initiative to participate in the special event of the Tribulation of 10,000 Races. Even though they had already led their armies out of their respective territories and were rushing towards the Blazing Sun Empire, their marching speed was extremely slow. They would probably only reach the territory of the Blazing Sun Empire tomorrow night. As for the Lord of all races, even though Your Majesty has already said that you won't have any arrangements for them, they value the key targets mentioned by the Supreme will very much. Currently, They are rushing towards our territory with all their might. However, because their means of transportation are too low level, the Lord faction that will be able to arrive the fastest will need to arrive at our Blazing Sun Empire tomorrow morning. Zhou Zhou was speechless. This group of races was not active in the battle. Instead, the weak lords of all races were rushing to die. Did they really think that the god spirits and soldiers of AUS were jealous? As for the key targets, after verification by Zhou Fight, they were confirmed to be the targets of the Eye of the Heaven's anger. Zhou Zhou and Zhou Zhan did not care much about these goals. This was because they had already decided to destroy the 100 high-level Scarlet Empires led by AUS. Those key targets would be dealt with in passing, and they would not specially look for them. Then, he frowned and asked in puzzlement, "Are these fellows from the Supreme Alliance going to risk the punishment of reducing the luck of their race and drag it out until the end before coming to resist these Scarlet armies? Your Majesty, as far as I know, the factions of the Supreme Alliance know that you have already sent troops to launch a sneak attack on the Scarlet Army led by AUS. According to the data, there is an 83.9% chance that the other party wanted to wait until you were destroyed by the Scarlet Army before coming to help resist the invading Scarlet Army. This way, not only could they eliminate you, the greatest threat to them, and ascend to the Lord of all races, they would also not violate the special requirements of the Supreme Will. There is a 16% chance that they wanted to attack at the last moment. This way, not only could they destroy most of your soldiers, they could also protect their own lives and leave them alone. This way, they would not be a threat to the lords of all races and could complete the mission of the Supreme Will. The last 0.1% probability includes other possibilities." Zhou Zhou sneered. These guys are dreaming. However, they might not have expected that when they faced this enemy that was hundreds of times stronger than them, not only would their lives be in danger, he would also make use of this crisis to eat their fill. He would even have the ability to decide when this King of 10,000 Kings event would end. His Blazing Sun Empire would become a true behemoth that many divine kingdom lords would fear after this event. It would be enough to dominate the heavens. Just as well, so be it. It just so happens that I've used up all my insight defections. Zhou Zhou muttered to himself. As for the lords of all races, their strength posed no threat to Zhou Zhou or those high-level Scarlet Empires, so Zhou Zhou was not worried that they would affect his activity mission. Time passed quickly. It was already the next night in the blink of an eye. In the Scarlet Army, the war conference room of the Chaos Scarlet Empire's base. 93 high-level kings of the Scarlet Empire were gathered here. Their expressions were gloomy, and the atmosphere in the conference room seemed a little oppressive. The king of the Demon Slaughter Scarlet Empire, the Demon Slaughter Lord, was finally the first to speak to AUS. He suppressed the anger in his voice. "Our wise excellency AUS, do we have to watch helplessly as the army of the common people's regal continuously launches sneak attacks on us? Our Demon Slaughter Scarlet Empire has already lost more than 300 billion Scarlet soldiers, more than 8,000 Scarlet God Spirits, and 3 Scarlet True God Tiers because of your defensive counterattack order. And this is the loss of a high-level Scarlet Empire. The entire army of the Scarlet Alliance has already lost 6% of their Scarlet soldiers. Almost half of the Scarlet God Spirits and True God Tiers have died. Don't tell me that we're going to continue advancing towards the Blazing Sun Imperial Capital and not fight to the death with them here." Towards the end, he could no longer control his anger and flew into a rage at AUS. Even though they gave AUS his dignity temporarily, they were all kings of their empires. They were just allies and were not much inferior to AUS. Therefore, he wasn't afraid at all when he was angry at AUS. The other kings could not control their emotions and complained to AUS as the Demon Slaughter Lord spoke. Many kings were also very aggrieved and depressed. Who would have thought that they originally had such a shocking military advantage, but they were actually in such a sad position now. They had been beaten up along the way, yet the other party did not even lose a single strand of hair. AUS did not say anything. Now that things had developed to this point, he had to bear the main responsibility for this matter. Therefore, he allowed them to vent the anger in their hearts. After the quarrel subsided, AUS said, "I didn't expect it either. The battleship of the Blazing Sun Empire is actually a true God-tier advance grade battleship. Even though we have 100 times more soldiers, god spirits, and true god tiers than the other party, we can't do anything against the enemy's warship that is several times faster. Are we just going to watch them beat us up? I've never suffered so much in my life. This is the most aggrieved war I've ever fought. I won't give up. The other rulers of the empires said angrily. There are only two ways. The first is to continue advancing towards the Blazing Sun Empire according to the original plan. When the Blazing Sun Empire is destroyed, the common people's regal and his army will naturally collapse on their own. As for the second method, AUS said, I've already set up ambushes on the way here. Now, these ambushes have already surrounded the area within a radius of 10 light years. The common people's regal and his army have been ambushing us. Their soldiers' encampment must not be far from us. If everyone agrees, we can mobilize all our troops now and surround the common people's regal and his army. Then, we can seal the time and space and finally use the strength of our entire army to ambush and kill them all. But there's a risk. I'm worried that the other party's true god-tier advanced grade battleship has the ability to travel through time and space at the true god-tier level or even the master god-tier level. If the other party has this ability, our ambush plan will probably be meaningless. I know that you should more or less have some master god-tier level methods in your hands since you can represent the Scarlet Divine Kingdom behind you to come to the High Continent to fight. If you have the master god-tier means to reinforce the space-time seal, why don't you take it out now? Once we successfully kill the common people's regal, the king who brought out such a method will definitely be able to obtain more rewards from the Crimson Overlord. In addition, that common people's regal has many methods. Moreover, he doesn't lack master god-tier methods. When we start fighting them, when the other party counterattacks with master god-tier methods, I hope that everyone can also use their own master god-tier methods to destroy the common people's regal and his army in addition to me. After this battle is over, when you make a summary of the battle in front of Lord Crimson Overlord, you can also show your contributions to Lord Crimson Overlord and gain recognition. What do you think? With that, AUS looked at the 92 high-level Scarlet Kings. Among the 92 kings, 20 to 30 of them hesitated after hearing Ao's words. They were all kings of empires with master god-tier level means, but they couldn't bear to use it. That was because a master god-tier technique was a rare national-level trump card even among the Divine Kingdom lords behind them. There would be one less every time they used one. The strength and fate of their empire would be weaker every time there was one lesser. This matter concerned the fate of the country, so they had to be cautious. However, in the end, the idea of contributing to the Crimson Overlord moved them. I have a small pile of eternal sacred land that can seal space and time. Even the 10 Master God tier can't escape the sealed space and time range of the eternal sacred land through space and time concealment. If your encirclement successfully ambushes common people's regal and his army, I can use the eternal sacred land to help you kill the common people's regal. However, that common people's regal should only be a clone of the common people's regal's main body, right? You should have a fate method that involves the main body, right? A transparent ruler of the empire, whose body reflected the spatial illusion, hesitated for a long time before finally speaking. As soon as these words were spoken, the other kings immediately exclaimed, "Eternal sacred land? Is it the supreme sacred land that wraps the river of time and space?" Not only can the legendary tier Eternal Sacred Land restrict the flow of the river of time and space, it can also restrict the flow of fate. Your Time Scarlet Empire actually has such a sacred artifact. It's said that the Crimson Empire has a secret law technique to ferry people in the river of time and space. It can harvest countless treasures from the river of time and space. Looks like it's true. AUS was also shocked. Then, a smile appeared on his face. Don't worry. Of course, I brought the fate method that involves the main body. As long as you can seal time and space, I promise to turn that common people's regal into ashes, just as AUS and the other kings were discussing how to surround and kill the army. Zhou Fight, Zhou Marshal, Zero, and the generals were also discussing their next battle plan. Currently, the Scarlet Army, led by AUS, still has 7,753 trillion Scarlet soldiers. more than 14 million Scarlet God Spirits, and more than 3,200 Scarlet True God Tiers after our repeated insight defections and sneak attacks. And our military strength, including the insight defection forces, is currently 9,112,125,936,881,906 soldiers, 798,929 God Spirits, and 973 Scarlet True God Tiers. Even though the current difference in military strength is still very large, the individual combat quality of our soldiers and the God Spirits is very high. Each of them can fight against 100 people alone. In addition, we have the insider of the insight defection. Once the war begins, as long as the insider suddenly counterattacks the enemy's internal center, once the enemy's center is destroyed, coupled with the fierce attacks of our elite troops, even if the enemy has hidden trump cards, we have a 35.75% chance of winning. Zhou concluded. Zhou fight, and the others nodded slightly. We only have a 33% chance of winning. In other words, there's still a certain risk, especially when we don't know how many trump cards the other party has. It's better for us not to attack easily. And we don't have to rush now. We have the Eternal Mothership. It's more than enough to protect ourselves. As long as we wait for the Supreme Alliance's troops to arrive, the main force of the Scarlet Army will naturally be dealt with by the Supreme Alliance. Even though the Supreme Alliance isn't willing to help us, He definitely won't watch helplessly as the Blazing Sun Empire is destroyed. Otherwise, they will violate the content of the event arranged by the Supreme Will. They can delay, but they definitely won't not do it. After the Supreme Alliance's forces restrain the main force of the Scarlet Army, we can carry out our war plan more safely. Bai Yun said. The other generals nodded slightly. What do you think of the ambushers? Zhou Fight suddenly asked. Even though the ambush troops arranged by AUS were hidden very well, among them was a spy arranged by Zhou Fight, insight defection. With these insiders providing him with the latest information, he naturally knew the ambush troops that AUS had arranged easily. He even knew the location, number, mechanical means of war, and so on. They're just trying to ambush us. We have the Eternal Mothership, so it shouldn't be a problem, Bai Yun said. Zhou Fight thought about it and nodded. The Eternal Mothership's teleportation, spatial travel, and other abilities were all top-notch Master God tier advanced grade abilities. Among the Master God tier level, it was very difficult to find a method comparable to it in the entire myriad worlds. As for Supreme God Realm techniques, as a lord like him, if he could use Supreme God Realm methods, he would immediately tell the Supreme Will that a lord had cheated on the Crimson Overlord's side. Of course, another key point was that his innate intuition didn't warn him. That was why he did not deny Bai Yun's idea. At this moment, a low hum sounded. Subsequently, Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu felt that their thoughts seemed to have become stagnant, causing them to be stunned on the spot for a second or two. After a second or two, they came back to their senses. They immediately activated the Lord's Law in their bodies and used the Law skill, King, to increase their strength to a level infinitely close to that of a Master God tier. Only then did they escape from the stagnant state just now. Time lockdown. No, it's space-time stagnation. What a powerful space-time stagnation. Even a true God tier is frozen on the spot. Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu suddenly stood up from their scats and looked solemnly at all their subordinates who were controlled by the space-time stagnation. The two of them spread their senses at the same time. Then, they realized that not only were their subordinates controlled, but all the soldiers, heroes, and god spirits of the entire Blazing Sun Empire were also scaled by the space-time stagnation at this moment. Only the legendary dragons, the Abyssal Holy Dragon, Nazario, and the Light Sacred Dragon, Ingersoll, were barely conscious, but it was difficult for them to move. Zero, what's going on? Zhou Fight said in a deep voice. Even though he had suddenly encountered a huge change, Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu did not panic. Your Majesty, even though Zero was only a trace of the machine god tier's consciousness, he was not affected at all. His voice was exceptionally clear at this moment. 1. There are top-notch master god treasures in the outside world. The eternal sacred land has frozen this space-time. Currently, most of the functions of the Eternal Mothership are restricted by the Eternal Sacred Land. Moreover, the owner of the eternal sacred land has already discovered our location. We'll have already fallen into a huge crisis. Eternal sacred land. Zhou Fight raised his eyebrows. He had many top-notch bloodline inheritances in his mind, so he naturally knew what kind of treasure this eternal sacred land was. This group of high-level Scarlet Empire members indeed had an extremely high foundation. They actually took out such a supreme treasure to use. So, aren't we going to face these guys head-on? Zhou Fight said. Yes, Your Majesty. Zero replied. Zhou Fight shook his head slightly. Originally, he wanted to use insight defection again and wait for the Supreme Alliance's army to arrive before starting a war with them. From the looks of it, man proposes, God disposes. This war was about to begin early. However, he, who had the battle resurrection scroll, did not panic. If they came, they would fight. The many trump cards in his hands were not to be trifled with. He looked at the generals and soldiers who were still in the state of space-time stagnation and had an idea. Chaotic sacred power with the Lord's law attributes spread out in all directions with him as the center. Then, it quickly enveloped all the soldiers and god spirits in the entire Blazing Sun Empire. The space-time stagnation stayed on these soldiers, and god spirits immediately dissipated after a few seconds after being touched by the Lord's laws. All the soldiers and god spirits of the Blazing Sun Empire, including Bai Yun, broke free from the space-time stagnation state and regained their freedom. After they escaped from the space-time stagnation state, they did not react to what had just happened for a moment. They were still staring blankly at Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu, who had already stood up with solemn expressions. Your Majesty, what are you? What happened? When did you stand up, Your Majesty? Not good. Enemies are attacking. Everyone, be on guard. Yuan Song was the first to react. She immediately looked out her true god-tier divine artifacts and looked outside the eternal mothership warily with a serious expression. Only then did the other soldiers realize what had happened. They immediately took out their divine artifacts and were on guard. Many people had already turned on the virtual exterior mode and looked outside. Then, they were shocked to see that their current location was not a starry sky, but a scarlet-yellow floating continent. On this floating continent, there was an illusory river that was billions of light years long and reflected countless space-time phantoms. It flowed on this continent without changing since ancient times. The eternal mainland, the river of time and space. Yuan Song was stunned for a long time before it could not help but widen its eyes and cry out. As a member of the shepherd's god race, he naturally had a secret legacy regarding this in his mind. However, this was the first time he had seen him. This was a supreme forbidden mystic realm that even Master God tier could die in the myriad worlds. Even existences like the supreme God realm could not come and go as they pleased here. Only existences with wills could freely come and go here. Why did they suddenly come to such a place? This isn't the real eternal mainland or the river of space-time. It's just a small pile of space-time illusions born from the eternal sacred land. It only has the effect of space-time stagnation. There's no real harm done to us. At this moment, Zhou Fight's calm voice resounded in everyone's ears. Yuan Song was stunned for a moment. Then, it took a closer look and patted its chest. It heaved a huge sigh of relief and smiled bitterly as if it had escaped death. I knew it. If I really came to the eternal mainland, how could a small true god tier like me still be alive? At this moment, Zero's voice sounded. The enemy's location has been found. The enemy is approaching us. 10 light years, 7 light years, 2 light years, 1 light year, 530 million kilometers. During the reporting period, Zhou Fight, Zhou Marshal, and the generals could already see the distant starry sky. Round after round of true god-tier battleships and other registered battleships were carrying hundreds of trillions of scarlet armies, scarlet god spirits, scarlet true gods, various war machines, and other war buildings as they broke through the layers of nebulae and finally arrived about a light year away from them. Compared to this, the eternal mothership that Zhou Fight and the others were on, as well as the surrounding 10 cosmos emperors, were as insignificant as ants were to an elephant. Lord of the Blazing Sun. Ao's voice came from the scarlet battleship high in the sky, and his voice spread to the ears of all the life forms present. You have already been trapped by my master god tier elementary grade array, 10 directions infinite array, and the eternal sacred land. In front of you, other than dying on the battlefield, there's only one choice left: surrender. You're extremely talented on the path of a lord. You're the lord of all races that the Supreme will values the most. The king of the Chaos Scarlet Empire, AUS, and the Crimson Overlord behind me also value you very much. I know you're a regal. You're very arrogant and don't want to be subordinate to other races. But are you really willing to give up your abilities and foundation and die meaninglessly on this battlefield? Join my camp. Join the arms of our Crimson Overlord. The treatment you receive from Lord Crimson Overlord will only far exceed the treatment you receive from the Supreme Will. Frankly, I'm jealous of you. That's why I'll only give you 15 minutes to consider. If you still don't choose to surrender after 15 minutes, I can only follow the will in my heart and personally destroy you, a regal. Inside the Eternal Mothership, Zhou Fight laughed lightly after he heard this. On the one hand, he wants to pretend to recruit me. On the other hand, he wants to use these words to attack our morale. Unfortunately, the soldiers under my command have long used various skills, hero skills, law skills, and even lord talents to stabilize their morale at their peak. Defeating morale? Not possible. Still, since the other party was so confident, he would fight them head-on. He said that he had 100 times more troops than him. Then, he would let the other party see what it meant to fight against 100 people alone. Attack. Let these guys know what it's like to beat the lord of all races and factions in the high continent until they tremble in fear. Zhou Fight said, "Yes, your majesty, XN." The generals replied coldly. Even if the enemy had 100 times more troops than him, so what? It was not their first time experiencing such a crisis. After experiencing several war crises, they already had a belief in their hearts. They would be victorious in every battle as long as they were under the leadership of His Majesty. Enemy, just kill them. Died. What was there to be afraid of? Baiyin did not waste any time. She immediately arranged for the god spirits and armies of the various commanders to fly out of the Eternal Mothership and Cosmos Emperor. Then, she quickly arranged the troop arrangement outside. In just half a minute, she summoned 70 true god-level army spirits, 9-headed hellhounds, and more than 100,000 god-level army spirits. These spirits of the military formation were the growth they had obtained after experiencing this day and night. Even though it was slightly inferior to the growth efficiency obtained in the time world, it was already 100 times the usual results obtained through training. Zhou Fight nodded slightly when he saw this. War. It was indeed one of the fastest ways for the soldiers to familiarize themselves with and master the spirit of the military formation. At the same time, when AUS and the other kings saw the army of the Blazing Sun Empire fly out of the warship, they couldn't help but raise their eyebrows slightly with surprised expressions. He actually escaped the space-time stagnation of the Eternal Sacred Land. The common people's regal is indeed capable. So what if they escape the space-time stagnation of the Eternal Sacred Land? Facing our 100x reward and the other party's military strength, they will only lose in the end. Haha, you're right. The kings of the Scarlet Empire laughed as they discussed. There was no possibility of losing this battle. Even AUS was the same. At this moment, AUS suddenly raised his eyebrows. This was because he saw 2 Zhou Zhous fly out of the Eternal Mothership. One of them is Zhou Zhou's clone. Could the other be Zhou Zhou's main body? Zhou Zhou and his main body are here. That's right. In the current situation, Zhou Zhou's main body has to come. Otherwise, once he is defeated, even if his main body is at the rear, he will lose the possibility of rising again. In that situation, he might as well die on the battlefield. Ha ha, we can kill them together and complete the mission given to us by the Crimson Overlord. Then, we can carry out the normal invasion mission. When the Scarlet Kings saw Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu, they were instantly overjoyed. So the target was right in forefront of him. AUS narrowed his eyes slightly. He felt that these 2 guys might not be Zhou Zhou's main body, but Zhou Zhou's clone. However, it did not matter if it was his main body or his clone. He had a treasure that included his main body. It made no difference whether he killed his clone or his main body? Lord of the Blazing Sun, since you've appeared, let me ask you, are you willing to surrender to me? Aus said in a low voice. Zhou Fight's expression was calm. Aus, you desire be defeated by this emperor. This emperor is not only talking about you, but also your main body. As for today's battle, this emperor desired definitely win. He said nonchalantly. His voice did not waver at all, as though the quadrillion-strong forces was nothing. Ao's face turned cold. Courting death. Looks like I'll have to take your corpse to report. Attack. Exterminate common people's regal and his army. Leave no one alive. Zhou Fight spoke coldly. Everyone attack. As for Aus, leave him to me. After saying this, he glanced at the starry sky. It was nighttime. The great lunar star was hanging elevated in the starry sky, scattering endless moonlight. Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu closed their eyes at the same time. Talent, Moon Demon. Activate. Boom, 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 boom. The terrifying Master God tier pressure spread in all directions with Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu as the center. In the blink of an eye, it covered the entire battlefield. Not only that, this pressure also formed a world of its own, pulling the Blazing Sun Empire and Aus into this world created by the Master God tier. At this moment, both sides looked at Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu in shock. This was the first time they had seen Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu display the strength of a Master God tier. After seeing it, the Blazing Sun Empire's side was naturally incomparably excited. On the other hand, Ao's side had a solemn expression. I thought that the Lord of the Blazing Sun only grasped a treasure with the power of a Master God tier. I didn't expect him to actually grasp a mystic technique to raise his strength to the level of a Master God tier. Where did this regal Blazing Sun get so many top-notch secret techniques to increase his strength? If I'm not wrong, this guy's strength is only at the mid-tier deity level, right? Is the Lord's law really so omnipotent? It can even easily break through the Master God tier bottleneck. It's fine if we win this battle, but if we lose, this common people's regal is probably really qualified to lead the human race to survive openly in the myriad worlds. The Scarlet King said solemnly. The reason why Master God tier existences were called clan-protecting experts. It was because a race with a main God-level powerhouse was enough to protect their race and survive in the myriad worlds for countless years without fear of being exterminated. It could even allow a race to grow smoothly under the power of time, giving birth to countless experts and becoming a top race. Unless a main God tier was courting death, it would be very difficult for a main God tier existence of the same level to eliminate an expert of this level after all. Only a supreme God realm expert with a higher level of existence could easily kill a Lord God realm expert. However, such existences would not easily appear after all. Master God tiers were basically the top experts in the myriad worlds. The races under the protection of the Master God tier would not be easily destroyed. They could grow up safely. That was why they were called clan-protecting experts. Even so, Aus and the others were not afraid. Among these kings, they had mastered many Master God tier methods. Even if Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu had the strength of a Master God tier elementary grade, they could still kill them if they used Master God tier methods together. At this moment, Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu, who had completely advanced to the Master God tier elementary grade at the last minute, slowly opened their eyes. The cold, great lunar light shone on the two of them, making them look like the emperors of the moon. The two of them had a thought. He was surrounded by 6 Master God tier elementary grade divine artifacts. With a total of 6 Master God tier elementary grade divine artifacts, Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu felt that even if an advanced grade Master God tier existence appeared in front of the two of them would still have the courage to take a gamble. The two of them didn't speak as they rushed to the front of the Blazing Sun Empire's army. Their goal was very clear. It was Aus, who was in the middle of the Scarlet Army. Attack together, Aus ordered. When all the Scarlet Kings saw this scene, they also got their true God tier subordinates to take out their Master God tier techniques that they had long prepared and prepare to fight Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu who were charging over. However, at this moment, a strange glint flashed across Zhou Fight's eyes. The next second, other than the Chaos Scarlet Empire, More than 60% of the soldiers and god spirits of the other 92 high-level Scarlet Empires suddenly aimed their weapons at their comrades beside them. Before the Scarlet Kings could react, they began to kill without restraint. In the blink of an eye, almost 10% of the Scarlet soldiers and Scarlet god spirits were killed or severely injured because they could not react in time. There was no lack of Scarlet true god tiers among them who had perished. What? The Scarlet Monarchs watched this scene with their mouths agape. Then, they immediately reacted. It's the insight defection ability of the common people's regal. When did he bewitch our soldiers? We clearly didn't see the common people's regal attack before. It's the sneak attack from before. At this moment, AUS said with a dark expression. He never expected that to happen. He was already prepared, but the other parties still succeeded in instigating the insight defection. Even though they were only insight defection's 92 high-level troops and god spirits. The rest of the Crimson Kingdom and the Crimson Kingdom were unaffected, and the main force was fine. However, they still felt terrible. This was because they were the most elite and core part of the entire Scarlet Army. The war had just begun, but their core elites had problems, which was a huge blow to their morale. There was no time to think since Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu had already charged into the Scarlet Army. Facing its terrifying Master God tier pressure, not to mention ordinary Scarlet soldiers, even the Scarlet God Spirit and the Scarlet True God tier did not dare to block each other's path. He made way for the other party to reach AUS unknowingly. A bunch of trash. AUS cursed. Then, he took a deep breath and took out a statue. He looked at the statue, and a look of heartache flashed in his eyes. However, he still pressed it against his chest. Then, he saw that the statue had been forcefully pressed into his heart. And after this statue completely fused into his heart. Bang, bang, bang. A loud heartbeat resounded throughout the entire battlefield. The surrounding Scarlet Kings watched in astonishment as Ao's strength increased rapidly. True God tier elementary grade. True God tier intermediate grade. True God tier advanced grade. Master God tier elementary grade. Ao's power had also risen to the same level as Zhou Zhou's, a Master God tier elementary grade. Then, he held a tricolored pagoda that emitted the aura of a Master God tier elementary grade. With a thought, he saw the pagoda rapidly smash towards Zhou Zhou. Zhou Fight's eyes flashed. Then, he slashed down. Boom. This Master God tier elementary grade tricolored pagoda was actually sent flying by this saber strike. It smashed AUS, who caught the tricolored pagoda, back millions of kilometers. AUS was shocked. When he looked at his tricolored pagoda, the expression on his face became even more horrified. This was because he saw a huge crack appear on his pagoda. This AUS was in disbelief. Even though the three-colored pagoda in his hand was not a Master God tier divine artifact, it was still an offensive treasure at Master God tier elementary grade. The other party could actually break the Master God tier pagoda in one strike. A Master God tier elementary grade God spirit definitely could not have such astonishing destructive power. Could the other party's weapon be? He suddenly looked at the weapons and armor on Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu. Even though they did not emit any aura and looked like ordinary arms and armor, his Scarlet Chaos human bloodline inexplicably gave him an intuition. That was a Master God tier weapon. Master God tier arms plus Master God tier strength. AUS could not hide his shock. This Lord of the Blazing Sun had given him too many surprises. No wonder Lord Crimson Overlord wants to destroy him so badly. If he continues to grow, he will definitely become the right-hand man of the Supreme Will in the future. He might even become the Lord of all races. He muttered to himself. At the same time, just as Zhou General AUS was sent flying, he and Zhou Zhan also rushed into the encirclement of the Scarlet Kingdom's king. Seeing the arrival of these two enemies, the Scarlet Kings couldn't help but recall the mission given to them by the Crimson Overlord. As long as they destroyed the Lord of the Blazing Sun, they would be able to obtain unimaginable rewards from the Crimson Overlord. At the thought of this, their eyes immediately turned red. Kill him. Destroy the Lord of the Blazing Sun. Use all the Master God tier techniques. Attack together. All the Scarlet Monarchs gave their orders almost at the same time. A portion of them even used their Master God tier treasures to attack Zhou Zhou. In the blink of an eye, there were 8 true God tier advanced grade Scarlet Empire rulers who used Master God tier treasures to raise their strength to the Master God tier elementary grade. Then, they brought their respective Master God tier treasures and attacked Zhou Zhou. The other true God tier Scarlet also used their Master God tier techniques to deal with Zhou Zhou from afar. Demon Nightmare Magic. A true God tier Demon Nightmare from the Abyss took out a scarlet rib bone. There were many black runes on the rib bone. The moment it appeared, it made the surrounding scarlet life forms feel very uncomfortable. He aimed the Demon Nightmare Divine Bone at Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu and injected divine power into it to activate the curse. Black runes flew out from the ribs and flew towards Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu. They imprinted themselves on Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu's bodies at an astonishing speed. When these black incantations appeared on the surface of Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu's bodies, the two of them immediately felt their strength begin to rapidly decrease. It was as if they had fallen from the Master God tier elementary grade to the true God tier advanced grade. Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu's expressions did not change. As they fought the 8 pseudo-Master God tier elementary grade Scarlet Master God tiers, they activated the chaotic sacred power in their bodies in an attempt to expel these black incantations. In the end, it was useless. Then, the two of them took out 2 Master God tier intermediate grade divine medicines to dispel the curse. They wanted to use the medicinal power to dispel the curse. However, these black incantations stuck to the two of them like maggots. No matter how hard they tried, they could not be removed. The two of them felt that their strength realm was about to fall to the level of a Master God tier elementary grade. Humph. Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu snorted and activated their supreme sacred body. Holy white divine runes that emitted a hazy white light appeared on Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu. These divine runes seemed to be the essence of the laws, containing the mysteries of endless laws. They originated from endless nomological laws, but they were higher than endless nomological laws and ruled endless nomological laws. As soon as these holy white divine runes appeared, these black incantations seemed to have encountered something of a higher level. They actually had a faint feeling that they were about to be absorbed. These black incantations were extremely intelligent. When they realized that they were about to be absorbed, they immediately wanted to escape from Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu's bodies. However, how could Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu ignore such an opportunity? They immediately swallowed another Master God tier elementary grade nomological law enhancement potion to strengthen their supreme sacred body. With the help of the divine medicine, these black incantations could no longer resist the absorption of the holy white divine runes. They were forced to be absorbed into Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu's divine bodies. At this moment, be it Zhou Fight, Zhou Marshall, Zhou Zhou, or his other clones, they all vaguely felt that their supreme sacred body had been strengthened. So the supreme sacred body is the same as the myriad method star palm. They are both moves that become stronger the more they fight. They came to a realization. Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu smiled. Even though the main body of the supreme sacred body had just cultivated for a day, even with the help of the Lord Talent Crystal Fragment, it had only advanced to the low-tier deity level intermediate grade. However, it could actually help him on a Master God tier battlefield. It could be seen how high its potential was. If it's a Master God tier elementary grade supreme sacred body, even if billions of low-level Master God tier elementary grades gang up on me, they probably won't be able to hurt me at all. Zhou Zhou muttered to himself. Back to the battlefield. Even though Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu had escaped the effects of the curse, they were still facing the siege of 8 pseudo-Master God tiers. Then, AUS joined in and attacked the two of them together. However, Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu relied on the top-notch defensive capabilities of the Master God tier elementary grade armor. Naturally, they were extremely calm. Even if a portion of the attacks landed on them, they could not injure them at all. Soon, AUS and the other fake Master God tiers also realized this. Master God tier armor. They looked at Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu in shock. Did the Lord of the Blazing Sun inherit some supreme God realm's treasure vault? Why was it that other than Master God tier weapons, there was even Master God tier armor? Meanwhile, Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu looked at each other. He had to end this quickly. They relied on the mystic technique to raise their pseudo-master god-tier elementary grade strength. It was still too difficult for them to forcefully control 6 master god-tier elementary grade divine artifacts. It would not take long for the chaotic sacred power in their bodies to be exhausted. Even with the addition of the 3,000 divine court realm apertures and the Lord Talent, King, they would not be able to last long. Kill. A cold glint flashed across their eyes. Subsequently, Zhou Fight teleported to the side of a Scarlet King. This king of the Scarlet Kingdom was called Wu Li. He was the king of the Scarlet Kingdom and was also one of the 8 pseudo-lord gods who besieged Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu. Seeing Zhou Fight suddenly appear in front of him, he was shocked and subconsciously wanted to counterattack. However, Zhou Fight directly slashed out with his saber to transmit the other party's attack before slashing down at him. A black saber river descended from the sky and directly slashed through the main god-tier divine power protective shield on the other party's body, splitting this Scarlet Empire king into 2. The other party did not even have the time to say his last words before he died under this saber river. The master god-tier elementary grade divine artifact in his hands was called the Infinite Heavenly River Saber. It contained 2 master god-tier laws, the Heavenly River Law and the Sword Law, and also the master god-tier law skill, the Heavenly River Fall. Even among all the master god-tier elementary grade divine artifacts that Zhou Zhou had, this master god-tier divine artifact could be considered top-notch. Zhou Fight used Heavenly River Fall to kill a fake master god-tier elementary grade Scarlet God Spirit that didn't even have any master god-tier divine artifacts. It was naturally very simple. However, he had also paid a huge price to use this move. He could feel that there was less than 10% of the chaotic sacred power left in his body. That move just now had used 90% of his reserves of chaotic sacred power. As he activated the king to replenish the chaotic sacred power in his body, he turned his head to look. Zhou Marshall, who was tens of millions of kilometers away, also killed another false master god-tier elementary grade Scarlet God Spirit with the green scale splitting rod in his hand. Just as the 2 of them were about to continue killing the other pseudo-master god-tier elementary grade Scarlet God Spirits. Everlasting. An old voice that seemed to have come from countless years ago sounded. In the next moment, Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu felt their speed drop by at least 10,000 times. Even their thoughts were fixed for a second. In that 1 second, countless master god-tier level attacks landed on Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu. Even with the protection of a master god-tier elementary grade defensive divine artifact, the 2 of them were still beaten until they vomited blood and their bodies were injured to a certain extent. However, they were not dead. That was enough. A second later, the 2 of them activated the Lord's Law and dispelled the space-time stagnation state again. Then, they appeared in front of the king of the time's Scarlet Empire at the same time. Under his terrified gaze, they killed him with a saber and a stick. Zhou Marshall took the eternal sacred land that had fallen from his hand. After Zhou Marshall obtained the eternal sacred land, he injected divine power into it without hesitation. The next second, the eternal continent and the space-time river illusory realm that filled the sky emitted invisible space-time fluctuations. Under this spatial fluctuation, the Scarlet Army led by AUS immediately fell into a stagnation. Even the 20-odd Master God-tier, True God-tiers, and King of Scarlet were rooted to the ground. Only AUS was protected by some unknown treasure and was not affected by the eternal sacred land at all. When Bai Yun and the other soldiers saw this scene, they immediately realized that this was an excellent opportunity to fight. The generals and god spirits immediately ordered all the soldiers to abandon all their defenses and attack the Scarlet Army that had fallen into the space-time stagnation state with all their might. At that time, countless Scarlet soldiers, Scarlet god spirits, and even Scarlet true god-tiers were killed by the army of the Blazing Sun Empire. Those who were lucky enough not to die were also heavily injured and could not continue fighting. In the blink of an eye, nearly 1,000 trillion Scarlet soldiers, 1,000,000 Scarlet God spirits, and nearly 1,000 Scarlet True God tier were either dead or injured. AUS widened his eyes and looked at Zhou Marshall, who controlled the eternal sacred land and the countless casualties of the Scarlet Army. He felt so regretful that he wanted to bleed. If he had known that the king of the Scarlet Empire was so useless, he would have kept this fellow's eternal sacred land for his own use. Great. It has become the opponent's weapon instead. At this moment, Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu flew straight at him. He completely ignored the 6 fake master god tiers who had fallen into the state of space-time stagnation. AUS was so angry that he wanted to curse seeing this scene. How much hatred did he have for him? He did not kill the 6 fake master god tiers who were waiting to die, yet he specially came to kill him, who was not restricted by the eternal sacred land. Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu were about to reach him. AUS did not have time to think, so he suddenly disappeared. It was as if the other party no longer existed in the vast high continent. Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu had the supreme sacred body and the chaos human bloodline. Their 6 senses were shockingly sensitive, yet they could not sense where the other party was. Zhou Fight immediately took out the Bodhi Supreme from his king's treasure box. "Where is Ao's clone?" he asked directly. "You really know how to cheat." One ordinary question. Bodhi Supreme said helplessly. "Sure," Zhou Fight said without hesitation. "Over there." As soon as Bodhi Supreme finished speaking, he saw AUS holding a gray umbrella in his right hand in the distant sky. He was looking at the Bodhi Supreme in his hands in shock and disbelief. "The Bodhi Supreme?" he said in disbelief. This supreme treasure that existed more than 10,000 years ago and attracted the covetous eyes of countless races. Even AUS had only seen it in a secret ancient book in the treasure vault of the chaotic Scarlet Empire. He never expected that this thing would actually appear in the hands of the Lord of the Blazing Sun. Wasn't this thing long gone with the disappearance of the illusory life race? He was extremely puzzled. However, he also realized that his hiding technique had been seen through. He had to hide again. You have to catch him quickly. Otherwise, he will have to hide again. Then you'll have to waste another chance to answer ordinary questions. Otherwise, you can also use an official question to resolve your doubts. I can teach you a master god tier mystic technique so that you can see through his concealment technique. The Bodhi Supreme said lazily. "No need," Zhou Fight said. Then, he looked at AUS, who was about to disappear, and immediately activated Thief of Heart. A text notification immediately appeared. Current items that can be stolen. Heart of the Thousand World item, contains a large number of treasures. Success rate of stealing, 95%. 1 true God tier divine artifact, Heaven Ascending Boots. Success rate of stealing, 94%. 1 true God tier divine artifact, 1000 illusion divine seal. Success rate of stealing, 95%. 1 true God tier intermediate grade divine artifact, Chaos Magic Armor. Success rate of stealing, 94%. 1 master god tier divine artifact, Chaos Corpse Statue. Success rate of stealing, 90%. 1 master god tier divine crystal formation, 10 directions infinite world formation. Success rate of stealing, 90%. 1 master god tier intermediate grade divine artifact, Fate Scarecrow. Success rate of stealing, 85%. 1 master god tier advanced treasure pseudo reverse path wheel. Success rate of stealing, 80%. 1 master god tier advanced grade treasure pseudo heaven shielding umbrella. Success rate of stealing, 80%. 8 master god tier elementary grade divine crystals. Success rate of stealing, 99%. 5 master god tier intermediate grade divine crystals. Success rate of stealing, 99%. 3 master god tier advanced grade divine crystals. Success rate of stealing, 99%. Zhou Zhou took a rough look and could not help but be shocked. This AUS is actually so wealthy? It is clearly just a clone, but it actually brought along an entire set of true god tier divine artifacts and 4 master god tier treasures. Aren't you afraid of dying in battle and falling into the hands of the enemy? Or could it be that while AUS knew that this invasion of the high continent was of the utmost importance, he cherished his life even more? Therefore, he would rather hang all these treasures on his clone than let his main body take the risk. Zhou Fight felt that his guest should be near to the truth. There was no time to think. Zhou Fight roughly took a look at the effects of these treasures before locking his gaze on the Master God Tier Advanced Grade Treasure, Pseudo Sky Shielding Umbrella. Treasure name, Pseudo Sky Shielding Umbrella. Treasure grade, Master God Tier Advanced Grade. Treasure effect, a replica of the supreme divine artifact, the Sky Shielding Umbrella. It can block out one's voice, smell, figure, aura, traces, presence, fate, and other treasures that might expose one's existence. It can block the detection of most master gods and below. Treasure introduction, a casual creation of the supreme god realm. It fell into the Crimson Universe during a war and was accidentally obtained by Aus. It's actually the creation of the supreme god realm. Zhou Fight was shocked. However, he didn't think too much about it. Instead, he didn't hesitate to use the Thief of Heart to steal the pseudo-sky shielding umbrella once a day with a 100% chance of success. The next second, a gray umbrella appeared out of thin air in his hand. It was the pseudo-sky shielding umbrella. When the pseudo-sky shielding umbrella landed in Zhou Fight's hands, Ao's figure appeared before everyone's eyes. He looked at his empty left hand in a daze. Then, he reacted and said in a panic, "Where's my sky shielding umbrella?" He subconsciously looked at Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu, only to discover that they had suddenly disappeared. Aus suddenly had an ominous premonition. Then, he saw Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu, who were holding the pseudo-sky shielding umbrella, quietly appear behind Aus. Then, the two of them slashed and struck, severely injuring Aus and sending him flying hundreds of millions of kilometers away. Puff! Aus spat out a large mouthful of blood. Swoosh! Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu teleported in front of Aus. With their respective Master God-tier divine artifacts in hand, they ruthlessly chopped down at Aus's head. With this slash, even if Aus was at the Master God-tier level, he would not be able to escape death. Aus was shocked. Wait a minute. Don't you want to know why I also have the Chaos human bloodline? He hurriedly shouted. He wanted to escape this calamity of certain death. He was only a clone of Ao's main body. Even if he died, it would not implicate Ao's main body. However, he had too many true God-tier divine artifacts and Master God-tier level treasures on him. He didn't want to leave these treasures on the high continent. That would be an incomparably huge loss for him. Therefore, he wanted to beg for mercy first before escaping and returning to his main body. At the same time, he made up his mind that he would never provoke the Lord of the Blazing Sun again before he completely inherited the treasures of the Lord Talent. This guy was really too terrifying. He had already led so many troops to besiege him, but he was still unable to do anything to this fellow. Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu sneered. I have the Bodhi Supreme, so why would I ask you? The two of them smashed him to death with their sabers and hammers without another word and looted him at the same time. It did not trigger the effect of the King of Loots, as he had only killed a clone and not the main body. The spoils of war that he had just seen through Thief of Heart were of the same grade. However, Zhou Fight was already very satisfied since there were several very useful Master God-tier treasures here after all. Then, Zhou Wu and him turned around and flew towards the other 6 pseudo-Master God-tier elementary grade Scarlet God spirits. At this moment, they had already forcefully escaped from the space-time stagnation. However, because of the powerful space-time stagnation ability of the Eternal Sacred Land, their mobility and combat ability were still affected. That was not the most important thing. Most importantly, they, who had recovered most of their mobility, saw the scene of Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu joining forces to kill Aus. They were stunned. Aus was killed. Even though he is only the new generation's Scarlet Lord, with the support of many Master God-tier treasures, he is the strongest among us. The strongest is no longer important. What's important is that Aus is the supreme commander appointed by the Crimson Overlord to invade the supreme continent. What will happen to our invasion of the High Continent if he dies? I wonder if we're going to choose a new supreme commander. I have a bad feeling about this. They saw Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu turn around and fly towards them right after that. This made their expressions change. Not good. The two of them are going to deal with us. What are you panicking for? We're 6 Master God tier elementary grade God spirits. Why would we be afraid of him alone? Attack together. The 6 pseudo-master god tier elementary grade scarlet god spirits immediately came to a consensus and charged towards Zhou Fight and Zhou Wu together. However, in the next second, Zhou Fight opened the pseudo-sky shielding umbrella and instantly disappeared. Destroy the other clone. Even though they were shocked seeing Zhou Fight disappear, they immediately made the next move. However, at this moment, Zhou Fight suddenly appeared behind them and slashed into one of their bodies. The nomological power from the Master God tier divine artifact, the immeasurable heavenly river saber, suddenly erupted and directly killed this pseudo-Master God tier elementary grade Scarlet God Spirit. Out of the 6 pseudo-Master God tier elementary grade Scarlet God Spirits was lost. Kill this guy. They immediately changed their target and wanted to destroy Zhou Fight seeing that he had arrived in the middle of them. A few of the pseudo-master god tier and elementary grade scarlet god spirits' eyes were burning with passion. This fellow actually dared to appear in their encirclement. Did he really think that they were pushovers? Next, as long as they attacked the other party together, even if the other party was wearing a master god tier divine artifact, it would be difficult for them to escape serious injuries. In fact, if they cooperated perfectly, it was completely possible for them to kill this clone here. At the thought of this, the 5 pseudo-master god tier elementary grade scarlet god spirits no longer hesitated. They all brought out their strongest offensive methods, and there was no lack of other master god tier level offensive treasures to surround and kill Zhou Fight. Rumble. A large number of master god tier level nomological attacks exploded in their encirclement, causing a monstrous energy shockwave. The 5 pseudo-master god tier elementary grade scarlet god spirits had no choice but to retreat hundreds of millions of kilometers away. After they stopped, they immediately widened their eyes and looked at the center of the explosion. Is the common people's regal dead? The next second, 4 streams of light that emitted the aura of a master god tier flew out from the center of the explosion and charged at one of the pseudo-master god tier elementary grade scarlet god spirits at an extremely fast speed. How could these 4 pseudo-master god tier elementary grade scarlet god spirits have expected such a thing to happen? How did 4 master gods with such similar auras suddenly appear? They could not help but feel a sense of fear that was like an omen of death. This feeling made them instinctively want to escape. However, it was too late. Zhou Fight instantly arrived in front of one of the kings and killed him with one slash. Zhou Marshal teleported in front of yet another king and killed the coward who wanted to escape. Zhou Manage shot in front of the king of the 9-armed Scarlet Empire. With the Xian Yuan divine sword in hand, he decapitated the other party and shattered his divine spark. Zhou Tianming quietly appeared in front of another king and shook the master god tier bell in his hand slightly. When the bell rang faintly, the other party's temporary divine soul had already quietly disappeared. As expected, the remaining king was killed by Zhou Fight and the other 3. At this point, the 9 strongest high-level kings, including AUS, had all fallen. I'm late, Zhou Tianming said. He was no longer in the High Continent. He was doing a mission in a middle world called the Bright Emperor World. After receiving Zhou Zhou's order, he immediately put down the mission and rushed over. He had already done his best to rush over at this time. No, you're right on time. Zhou Fight smiled and said seriously, next, I'll be in charge of maintaining the eternal sacred land and the 10 directions infinite world formation so that the first 2 high-level soldiers of the Scarlet Empire, including the Chaos Scarlet Empire, won't be able to escape the range of the eternal sacred land's 10 directions infinite world formation. Just cooperate with the soldiers and god spirits and kill the remaining high-level soldiers and god spirits of the Scarlet Empire. We don't have to use all of them perfectly. We just have to destroy more than 90% of them. My main body has already asked the Supreme Will. As long as we eliminate more than 90% of the soldiers and god spirits of these 2 high-level Scarlet Empires, we will complete the mission. Okay. Zhou Marshal, Zhou Manage, and Zhou Tianming nodded. Afterwards, the 3 of them didn't waste any more words and flew back into the army of the Blazing Sun Empire, slaughtering the Scarlet Army. This was because Zhou Fight and the rest had killed the 9 kings of the Scarlet Empire led by AUS and used the Eternal Sacred Land to restrict the strength of the Scarlet Army. The double blow to their spirit and strength had lowered their morale. However, because they knew that their forces had the advantage, their morale did not decrease too much. They could still persevere in the battle. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was already noon the next day. Zhou Fight and the others, who were fighting a bloody battle in the army, suddenly realized that the Scarlet Army in front of them seemed to have received some order and began to flee in all directions. Just as they did not understand what was going on, lines of text notifications suddenly appeared in front of them. Special event notification from the King of 10,000 Kings. Congratulations to the Lord of the Blazing Sun for eliminating the top 100 high-level Scarlet Empires, led by Aus. The Scarlet Army is leaderless, and the Crimson Overlord has decided to give up on the invasion of the High Continent. This King of 10,000 Kings event has officially ended early. The reward for this event will begin tomorrow morning. After the event reward ends, a new event preview will be carried out. Lord of the Races. Latest event hint. This latest event will help the Lords return and protect the home of their original race. Please be prepared in advance. The activity notification of the Supreme will appear in front of all the Lords of all races. All the Lords of all races were stunned when they saw the latest information. It is over just like that. The King of 10,000 Kings event lasted for a total of 30 days. Now, only 22 days had passed, which was a little more than 2/3 of the time. It was over? Also, didn't you just announce the content of the King of 10,000 Kings special event the day before yesterday? The special event has ended early. It has only been 2 days. How heaven-defying was the common people's regal to be able to destroy 100 high-level Scarlet Empires in 2 days. Now, even the high-level Scarlet Empire was so simple in front of the common people's regal? If this was the case, wouldn't it mean that even the beginner-level Divine Kingdom's Lord faction, the common people's regal, could lead troops to deal with them now? Thinking of this possibility, all the lords of all races were stunned for a long time before hurriedly reporting this news to the races behind them. Then, they looked at the latest activity information and fell into deep thought. The leader of the race? They could even return to the home of their original race. Home of the original race? Could it be? He thought of a possibility, and his eyes immediately lit up. Soon, the various races and factions behind the Lord of all races knew that the King of 10,000 Kings event had ended early. After seeing this news, they were also stunned. That's not right. The Supreme will only announce the content of the King of 10,000 Kings special event 2 days ago. Why is it over already? Furthermore, the Lord of the Blazing Sun had personally ended this special event of the King of 10,000 Kings? If you're so powerful, what's the meaning of the Supreme while announcing the content of this special event of the King of 10,000 Kings? You specially informed us in order to show off your prowess? If that's the case, then wouldn't it be a waste for us, the allied army from the Supreme Alliance that has already led our armies out of our territories and prepared to support the Blazing Sun Empire, to come here? That was what they thought. They completely disregarded their tacit agreement to go and reinforce the Blazing Sun Empire later, so that the Blazing Sun Empire would be annihilated by the Scarlet Army. This way, their allied army would be the last to make a move. This was timely. Their allied army had arrived. The crisis at the Blazing Sun Empire was resolved by the Lord of the Blazing Sun alone. They had become the most awkward clowns. This was not the most important thing. Most importantly, there was only one question in their minds. How strong was the Blazing Sun Empire of the common people's regal and him now? Therefore, at this moment, countless experts of various races gathered their divine telekinesis from billions of light years away and began to communicate. Is the Blazing Sun Empire of the common people's regal really that strong? Could it be that the Supreme will secretly made a move? Otherwise, how could the Blazing Sun Empire destroy all the Scarlet Army with just a beginner empire? You're wrong. It wasn't a beginner empire that destroyed all the Scarlet Army. Instead, it destroyed the top 100 high-level Scarlet Empires, including the Chaos Scarlet Empire. The other 50,000 high-level Scarlet Empires and the million-strong Crimson Kingdoms didn't lose much. After the Crimson Overlord issued the order to cancel this invasion of the Supreme Continent, these Scarlet Empires and Crimson Kingdoms collapsed on the spot and returned to their respective homes. Even so, it was still unbelievable. That was the 100 strongest high-level Scarlet Empires. It was said that they even had the support of the Divine Kingdom's Scarlet Lord faction. Under such circumstances, how could the other party lose? A loss is a loss. Isn't that a good thing? True God tier Fei Yun, you're a lone master God tier and don't have any racial ties. Naturally, you don't care who's stronger or weaker among these lords of the myriad races. However, as the leaders of the races, the new lords of all races in our race shoulder the heavy responsibility of competing for the position of lords of all races and allowing our race to rise. Naturally, we have to care. I have a video of the battle between Common People's Regal's Blazing Sun Empire and our Scarlet Army. Do you want to watch it? Yes, yes, yes. Give me one too. One true God tier elementary grade divine crystals. Profiteer, give me a serving. I've sent it to you. Send me a copy quickly. All right. I've already sent it to you. Under the sale of the profiteers, many experts of various races obtained this war video in a short while. When they finished watching the war video, they were instantly shocked, speechless by the content of the war video. This, Common People's Regal, is actually so powerful. 9 pseudo-master god-tier powerhouses were actually killed by the Common People's Regal alone, and it's not the main body, it's just his 4 clones. Can't you guys tell? These 4 clones of the Common People's Regal are all wearing Master God tier divine artifacts. If I had a full set of Master God divine artifacts, I would even dare to fight a Master God tier advanced grade God spirit. Even a real Master God tier might not have a single Master God tier divine artifact. Where did this guy get so many Master God tier divine artifacts? If you count the Master God tier divine artifacts on them, the true combat power of the Common People's Regal is probably not inferior to a true elementary grade Master God tier powerhouse, or even an intermediate grade Master God tier powerhouse. It seems that we have to admit a fact. The human race, which we once regarded as ants, has now risen. With Common People's Regal protecting the human race, the rise of the human race has become a reality. It's too scary. The Common People's Regal has only cultivated for a short period of time, but he already has the combat power of a Master God tier. I kind of understand why the Supreme will disregarded the opposition of the myriad races and insisted on choosing the Lord of all races to participate in the Lord of all races competition. The local lords of the High Continent will definitely not give birth to such a monstrous lord. Now, there's a question. How should we deal with the Common People's Regal, who already has the combat power of a Master God tier, and the humans he is protecting? I'm ready to withdraw. My heavenly dream race only has the protection of a true God tier, and without the protection of a Master God tier, I don't dare to go up and court death in the face of a God tier existence like the Common People's Regal. Who's willing to deal with the Common People's Regal? I'll retreat first. Even though my race has the protection of a Master God tier ancestor, my ancestors are not willing to provoke existences of the same level easily. If there are any actions against the Common People's Regal in the future, please don't look for my race. My race doesn't want to have a Master God tier enemy for no reason. A bunch of cowards. You don't dare to continue just because you've encountered some setbacks? The battle for the Lord of all races involves the future of all races. Once you give up, it means that you've given up the opportunity to fight for the future and destiny of your race. To think that you call yourselves the leaders of your race. You're a bunch of irresponsible people. If the Common People's Regal becomes the Lord of all races, he will treat the human subjects and the people of foreign races equally. You traitor, do you know what you're saying? Do you want the Terrans to ride over you and your race? Haha. Everyone, don't be in a hurry to withdraw or continue. Look at Lord Supreme Will's latest activity. The content of the next activity should involve competition at the race level. If that's the case, the foundation of the Common People's Regal will definitely be weaker than us, a powerful race that has existed for countless years. At that time, as the race behind the lords of all races, we can directly exert strength to help our lords of all races. Even though the Common People's Regal is powerful, the human race behind he is very weak. won't be able to obtain much help from the human race at all. Once the race foundation competition begins, the winner will definitely be us. At that time, the position of the Lord of all races will still be ours. That makes sense. Let's wait and see for now. I agree to continue watching. On the battlefield, Zhou fight, Zhou marshal, Zhou manage, and Zhou Tianming looked at the scarlet fog monsters that were fleeing in all directions.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.